We're now up to our CEO Sit Down, the segment on our program where we turn to a prominent CEO to tackle a topic in business. And today we're joined by William Lieberman. William is a consultant and mentor to entrepreneurs in a variety of industries. Welcome to our show, William.
Thank you, Krista.
So today we're tackling how do you know if your finances are in good order with your company? And a good place to start here, as you tell me, is tracking cash.
Absolutely. You need to know how much cash you have on hand and how much cash you're forecast to be spending over the coming months so that you know if ahead of time if you're going to be in trouble or not. And as long as you have your books in good order and a good forecast in place so that you can see cash going up or down, then you can make adjustments ahead of time.
Well, do you have businesses that come to you without a forecast for the year?
100%. Happens all the time.
Okay.
You'd be surprised. A lot of people have their books in good order and they say, hey, here's my accounting, but they don't know and they haven't forecast out in the next 12 months, so they don't know where the business is headed from a financial perspective.
So a year is a minimum. Would you go further than that?
No, a year is good because that's a good visibility for a small business owner to look at.
Having an emergency fund, how critical is this?
Just like you do at home, right? You need to have they always tell you 3 to 6 months of spending on hand, of cash on hand. Same thing in a business. 3 to 6 months of your operating expenses in cash or available to you in credit has to be a non-starter. You have to have that no matter what.
And in your experiences, what has this helped a business cover so that they could stay afloat?
Well, when a client will come along and they say, hey, big customer canceled their contract, I wasn't foreseeing it. Now they have enough cushion to be able to make payroll as they either wind down a little bit if they have to, or ride that out until a new customer comes along.
Okay. Now, in terms of evaluating your company finances, you also recommend evaluating your receivables. Speak to that.
Absolutely. So as you look at your receivables, if you are invoicing customers, you have to look at how long those receivables are outstanding. Is it 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? When they start stretching beyond 60 days, that points to service issues potentially, credit issues with the customers, and you need to measure that on an ongoing basis to see what's the trend. At my company, when I came out, there was 72 days outstanding, and we reduced it to 28, and it generated a lot of cash for the business.
And how important is it to have a formal notification process?
You have to have a standardized process by which you say, hey, Mr. Customer, Mrs. Customer, I sent this invoice to you, 30 days ago, you haven't paid, is there something going on, something I need to be aware of? And stay on top of your collections.
Right.
And so that you're constantly talking to these people and understanding if there's an issue, let me know ahead of time and get that visibility so you can plan for it yourself as you manage cash.
And what should you look for in terms of reviewing your payables and any red flags that you might note?
If typically on the payable side, you want to make sure that you stretch as much as you can. Obviously, you have to stay within the contract of whatever that you have with your vendors. But you want to say, you don't need to pay them day one. Pay them net 30 if that's when they're owed. But if you see something stretching and your controller or your bookkeeper is not paying somebody for a reason, that could come back to you. The vendors could be upset with you and cause difficulty with your business. So you have to stay on top of that.
And how do you help your clients with maintaining positive working capital?
So what we do is we make sure that we understand all the different moving parts of your financial picture. Okay. So it's the revenues, the profits, the balance sheet, payables, receivables, they all intertie. And so when you look at working capital, how much do you owe versus how much do you have? And if you owe more than you have, then negative working capital is a sign of distress. And we help people work through that.
Right, fairly simple formula, but not always in practice, right? You also really need to make sure that you're profitable.
Absolutely, and that's sometimes people just ignore that and say, oh, I'm selling a lot of stuff. Okay, well, how much cash are you throwing to the bottom line? How much profit am I really generating from this business? And if it's not enough, if it's not 10, 20% net income as a percentage of revenue, then something needs to be looked at to reduce your expenses.
And we don't have a lot of time, but I do want to ask you this because when I go out and I interview and speak to CEOs who are new, and they haven't turned a profit yet. You wonder, when is the point at which you really should be turning a profit by now?
Typically, when you look at startups or new businesses, 18 to 24 months is kind of the range that you really need to be profitable. Sometimes it's 12, but typically 18 to 24.
Okay, great to have you on the show here. William Lieberman of the CEO's Right Hand. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And we have more coming your way after this. We're answering your viewer questions. Stay with us.